Welcome to Film Phreeks. This is Justin Llewellyn.
And Eddie Williams.
And tonight we're going to be doing an audio retrospective of one of the most iconic, but also very fun and very heartwarming comedy films of the late 1980s and the early 1990s, which is the Gremlins franchise. Which, while it only has two films, they serve quite an impact. Yep. And this film, both of these movies were directed by Joe Dante, and basically they were also executive produced by Steven Spielberg.
And it's actually part of their agreement was his name's to be in the title.
Steven Spielberg Presents. Yeah. And basically the films were, in the first film, Gremlins the first film, Gremlins, was directed by Joe Dante and stars Zach Gilligan and Dick Miller and among others. And this actually takes kind of a Christmas feel. This is actually it's set on Christmas time, and you have basically this father who's he's kind of
a gadget. Yeah, he's an inventor, gadget kind of guy.
He goes to this shop that this one guy has where he ends up in, I believe, it's in Chinatown, and he discovers that there's this creature there that he's holding there, and he ends up
Mowgli,
Mowgli, whatever it is, and basically he ends up getting him bought. And he brings.
Well, he didn't. The guy said he's not for sale.
Yeah,
and he pretty much kind of stole him, but paid for him still.
Yeah,
like when the guy wasn't looking, he threw the money on the table and took him.
That's right. Yeah, and pretty much he brings him home, and he ends up telling his son, played by Zach Gilligan, that pretty much that this creature has certain limits that he can't have when it comes to taking care of him. Where you can't feed him after midnight, you can't keep him. You have to keep him out of sunlight, and you have to avoid by water. And Zach Galligan's character has to take care of him and pretty much raise him as his own. And when you first see the little guy, they call him. Well, he names him Gizmo.
Gizmo.
Yeah. And when you first see him, he's just such a cute little guy.
Is very cute. And they eventually used that look to make Furbies.
I remember that. Growing up, that was the other thing, that this movie had spawned a kind of a kind of a ripoff or a thing called Furbies that they did. Yeah. But yeah, pretty much there's, after some stuff goes down where he's taking care of everything.
Yeah.
There's an event that happens where after he feeds him, after he ends up getting him with water and everything.
Because what that happens is he's showing him something, and he bumps that. He's a painter, and he bumps the paint, and the water that you do to clear the paint that falls on him. Yeah, and then he starts shooting out them little other fucking creatures the same as him, but they all got different personalities.
Yeah, they're a lot more kind of more agitated
and more dickheaded.
Yeah,
and they're like gremlins. They like to fuck shit up. Yeah.
Yeah, and then basically after this goes along, at first they're kind of just
they're furry looking.
They're furry looking, and they're kind of soft spoken. Yeah. And then after a while, he ends up, Billy, that's, I believe, his character's name. He ends up having to feed him after midnight, which is actually not his fault, because it turns out that the clock that he has was unplugged, and it still showed that it was before the time was set up. Yeah. Because if you feed him after midnight, it can cause problems, and he ends up accidentally feeding him after midnight, and then they start spawning like crazy, basically.
Yeah, they start actually, what it does is it kills them, and it makes them come back as these alien looking, fucking nasty looking motherfuckers. Disgusting looking fuckers. And this one, they're actually a lot more meaner and terrorizing.
Yeah.
So.
And then pretty much the rest of the film deals with him having to take care of Gizmo the situation, and pretty much as they start to get out of control, they eventually start spawning like crazy, and they pretty much create an army of these guys.
Yeah.
And then they start running pretty much havoc.
Yeah, throughout the whole
city. Yeah. And it pretty much becomes a night of terror, because you have a Christmas movie that's kind of going for a very dark comedies kind of speak.
I love the Christmas, the opening.
Yeah, definitely. And
the music, how it was good. But yeah, they basically start going around taking over the town, terrorizing people, like that old bitch that was like the banker one.
Yeah, I remember that woman. She was fucking mean as hell.
And then they fucking shot her up. Fucking
yeah, I remember that shit.
Which is that funny because if you guys watch Breaking Bad, we had a young Hank in this scene.
That's right. Yeah, I remember that. D. Norris. Yeah,
yeah, he's a cop in this. But anyways, yeah, they shoot her out of that damn building, which was pretty funny. They because what they do is, they basically, you hear the term gremlins when your computers are all fucking acting haywire. So if you hear that gremlins, must be gremlins in my television because it's acting up.
Yeah.
And they start messing with technology and they're good about fucking shit up. And
then pretty much they start wreaking havoc across pretty much the cities and stuff. Well, it all happens because when Billy brings the specimen to his school, his teacher ends up trying to figure out and stuff, and his teacher ends up pretty much getting hurt by this thing.
Did he get killed or?
Yeah, I think he got killed by the creature there, and then
they jumped in the pool.
They jumped in the pool and they start spawning like crazy.
Yeah, and
then pretty much after that they start coming across more and more, and then they start spreading across the city. Yeah. Well, and then they start wreaking havoc. And
I like that part where she's working at a bar and they show up at the bar drinking and stuff.
Yeah, I remember that. Because throughout the movie, our main guy, Billy, he's trying to impress Kate, who's played by Phoebe Cates, who I'll admit, like for in the 80s, like Phoebe was like one of my biggest crushes of the 80s,
especially in Fast Time.
Oh yeah, dude.
Yeah, she was fucking hot, man.
Yeah, but she pretty much is trying to like run this bar and stuff and everything, and she's trying to serve the drinks to like the fucking gremlins and shit. And
they're impatient.
It's like
stuff. And it's funny because they also have another version of them called Critters, and then another franchise movie. So
and
it's
also
like,
Ghoulies.
So it's like, you get these little this is around the time they're making all these little tiny creature looking things.
Yeah.
So
and then you also got
they're funny as shit too. Even though they're mean, they're funny.
Because really they're just trying to have a good time, like smoking cigars and shit, and like fucking throwing shit around and all that. And I got like one of my favorite parts is the part where they're fucking with Santa Claus. They throw him across the fucking
biting them. And stuff, and they see him run out in the middle of the street, he's all covered in them and stuff.
Yep. And then they have the Corey Feldman also trying to try to fin away off of him and shit.
Yeah. And then you also have the dude from Demon Knight in it, Willie.
Yeah, Dick Miller.
His name's Willie in the show or something. Not Will. He's Willie in Demon Knight, but I forgot his name.
Murray.
Murray.
Or Mr. Furman.
Yeah, and then his wife.
Yeah. And then they're trying to, ease the situation, and pretty much it gets to our climax where you got like them going to this movie theater, which is one of my favorite parts because they go inside there and they end up watching a movie of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs.
Yeah,
and
they start singing. And I like before they kill that woman. Before they kill that one old lady, they fucking did a Christmas Carol. La 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 la.
Yeah, and then they watch the Snow White. They're like, "Hi ho, hi ho."
Yeah,
and then pretty much one of my favorite shots of the film is the part where Billy and the girl they're end up in the back of the where the theater thing is where the screen's at.
Yeah,
and the gremlins they start notice their shadows and shit, and they start like crumbing on top of the screen stuff. And I thought that shot there was like pretty like fucking creepy the way they were kind of. Scratching and shit.
Yeah.
But, and then pretty much after that, they end up going to take them out by they set off an explosion by setting the whole fucking theater on fire.
Yeah.
And they end up blowing the whole place up.
Yeah.
And then basically they think it's all over, and then they end up going to this kind of like store, this like kind of like this
garden.
And they end up there's one more gremlin that's kind of like the badass of the group called Stripe.
Yeah.
And he ends up having to try to fight Gizmo and stuff.
Yeah, because he was a mean to Gizmo. That's why he was, like the head honcho.
Yeah, and then they pretty much get him into the sunlight, and he ends up exploding like hell. And keep in mind, like we did for our last retrospective, this is the film that actually caused the PG-13 rating.
Yeah.
Because this film came out the same year, as a couple years. This came out the year also the same a year after this. Spielberg did Raiders of the Lost Ark, which was Temple of Doom came out the same year as this film did. So both this film and Gremlins had caused the PG-13 rating to exist.
Yeah.
And so basically this film, because of its notorious vibe, especially that scene where they fucking put the gremlin inside the microwave.
Yeah, and blow it up. And blender and all that. Yeah, and all that green. It's a disgusting, funny, dark humor. Creepy,
but it still works.
Yeah.
And it all ends where pretty much
they beat the villain one, and
they end up the main guy, the guy who originally owned Gizmo at the beginning comes to get Gizmo, and pretty much basically Gizmo pretty much becomes more attached to with Billy and everything, and then basically the guy ends up taking him anyway.
Basically, he goes back with the Asian guy and basically gives him a life lesson, saying that when you're ready, you'll be ready to take care of him. Until then, he takes him, and the movie ends right there. And I will say that I fucking love this movie.
I do too. Yeah. This is not only one of my favorite all-time Christmas films, but it's also one of my all-time favorite comedy/horror films that they've done in the 80s.
Dark humor
80s.
Yeah,
because the movie it has a great blend of not only mixing the Christmas theme but also the horror theme as well.
The both themes blended so well.
And the creature designs they use for these gremlins, I don't think would ever work like they would back then.
Oh yeah, they fucking CGI them today, which is scary because they still want to do a third movie or at least a reboot, one of the two. But yeah, man. The fucking creatures are like damn near on par with the Thing remake from the 80s.
Yeah, and plus
it holds up to this day. They're nasty looking, and you almost think they're real.
Yeah, and plus I like the dark humor they add with it. Especially the macabre moments where the gremlins are getting blown up and shit, and you got like them throwing the fucking shit at them and stuff like that. And just the overall story, it's just, it's almost like the movie is kind of a self-parody of like those classic 50s movies we had with the Blob and stuff, where you got like the guy who is trying to convince the town about the stuff going on and things like that, but it takes a kind of a modern spin on it, which I liked.
Yeah.
And just everything about this movie is so phenomenal. Like
the cast is great.
The creature.
Gizmo's adorable.
Gizmo is always great. And just everything about it just works so perfectly.
Who was the actor I remember playing Gizmo? Wasn't it? I believe it was the actor that played in Little Monsters.
Howie Mandel.
Howie
Mandel.
Played Gizmo.
Yeah.
Yep. A lot of people don't know that. If you guys remember, he was off Who Wants to Be was it the Who Wants to Be a Millionaire?
Deal or No Deal.
No, Deal or No Deal. That's what it was.
Yeah.
But he was also known for a lot of fucking voice acting, like in Little Monsters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then basically, this movie was so with that being said, I'm giving this movie a fucking phenomenal grade on the Film Phreeks meter.
Yeah, it's definitely a phenomenal grade in Film Phreeks meter, man. I could rewatch the shit out of this any day of the week.
Absolutely. And after Gremlins came out, this actually spawned the birth of the PG-13 rating, because like we were saying earlier, this film actually created Steven Spielberg. Since he produced this film, he created the PG-13 rating based off of it.
Yeah.
Along with Temple of Doom. And then it wasn't until about 1990 when they decided to try to do a sequel to Gremlins based on the success of it. And since Spielberg invented the new rating for PG-13, they actually had the next one with PG-13 rating in mind. And Joe Dante came back with the next one with Gremlins 2, the new batch, which, believe it or not, was actually another film that I grew up with the most. That I'm not going to lie, when I was a kid, I actually liked a lot better than the first one. As a kid.
As a kid, I agree with you. But now that I'm growing up, I will say that this is on par with movies that, like Ghostbusters 2, for example, and Last Action Hero. Mm-hmm. I find Gremlins 2, the new batch, to be highly underrated.
I do too.
Yeah. In fact, while I do like a lot of things in Gremlins better, I find New Batch Part 2 to actually do better in some things.
There's a lot of things that I really love a lot better. Not only
in the second one.
So then basically this one is also directed by Joan Dante and comes back with the same cast from the first one. You got Zach Galligan, Phoebe Cates, and you also
and this one takes place where they're in New York City.
Yeah. And it also has it to where the Dick Miller and his wife are now neighbors with is Billy and his wife and his girlfriend.
Yeah.
Now and we have
futuristic building.
Yeah, which is very interesting because the guy that runs it, if you remember, he was the guy that was from the commercial from RoboCop 2, I believe. It was one or two, whichever one. Yeah. But basically, that guy who was from that, he runs this kind of like high tech.
He was also in Shazam.
Yeah, he was also Shazam and also Batman and Robin.
Yep.
And pretty much, this guy is running like all this futuristic stuff, and he's
a building which has everything from research science to architect designs, to a hospital, to a school, a theater, a place for a movie studio where they can make movies, to restaurants, you name it. Basically, the theme of this skyscraper is basically why go anywhere else when you can have it all in one area?
Yeah.
Type thing. And it is very futuristic, and it's really neat. But
yeah,
we get Zach, and he's an architect, I believe, in this.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, and she's the tour guide of the building,
of the building and everything. Yeah. And then pretty much they bring Gizmo back in this, and
there's that same dude though that is trying to build extra stuff in New York City. Well, we go into the scene where he's with the Chinese guy, and he's refusing to move because those people visit him, and they want him to move because they want to build more buildings there and demolish his building. He refuses to leave, and they continue to destroy it. And I guess if I remember correctly, the old man, we're led to believe he died.
He did. He died, and pretty much Gizmo is basically
on the run.
After
getting out of
there, escaping, and pretty much he's rescued by Billy, and
he finds Billy. I can't remember how he knew where Billy was at.
It's been a while since I've seen it, but I know that Billy ends up finding him, and he ends up basically going to the building that Billy works at and everything. And pretty much there's an event that happens to where while they're in there, there's water that spills from this broken fountain that's out there, and it ends up getting onto Gizmo, and it causes him to spawn the Gremlins again.
Yeah, good.
And what's interesting about this film, what I actually thought was pretty clever, there's actually a scene where pretty much, after the stuff goes down where the Gremlins are pretty much being broken into with the water and everything, this film actually takes a very clever approach of itself, because they actually take a self-parody angle.
This one actually not only does that, but it does the RoboCop thing.
It does, but basically they take, because they have characters in the film that reference stuff from the first film. Like, there's, like, for example, you know that scene where the guys are talking to Billy about how, well, what happens if you feed the Gremlins after midnight, and then you're like you're stuck in a time zone or whatever. They actually they actually make fun of the events of the first film with how how you can't feed them after midnight and stuff. They actually make fun of that in that kind of way.
I also like it when Billy brought him home, and like his girlfriend and then that old man and the wife, remember from the first movie, saw him like, oh hell no, you better get that damn thing away from me.
Yeah.
But yeah, he gets unfortunately a pipe causes him to shoot up more of them damn things, and they start getting bullied and stuff, and
then basically we get, like the first film, the Gremlins are spawning around and everything, and they start causing havoc. And
they start eating the restaurant food after, and it was already past midnight, therefore causing them to turn into gremlins.
Yeah, and what's interesting about this one is that unlike the first film, where we kind of have like kind of the same type of gremlins that we've seen usually, this one, I'll admit, I'm aware of this.
Yes.
I love the fact that they expand on different gremlins in this.
Yeah, this one, to me, I felt did a lot better on that, because in the first one, it just makes them different colors.
Well, and you have stripes, but that's really about the only difference.
Yeah, and a lot of them are just pretty much the same looking, but they do have some different ones in that first one. This one, however, they make a spider one.
They have the smart one.
A girl one, a very genius one, which he ends up being the main star. And actually, he's kind of a cool character.
Yeah, I like him. Yeah.
He can sit there and have a conversation and have a beer with.
Yeah.
I actually really got into his character.
I do. This movie was like the Gremlins in this, I felt were so more interesting than the first Gremlins.
And the setting, I love the setting. I like seeing like the research center and all that stuff.
Yeah, I like that they're in a high-tech building and they can pretty much get loose and everywhere. This film actually, I'm not aware of
I know how Gizmo got there. I now remember those twin guys. They saw him walking by himself in the streets. Yeah. And they go, "Ooh, we're going to like you." And then they put him in the thing, then they take him in the building.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah. But,
and pretty much, like, the film just has a lot of crazy shit that goes down. You got the Bat Gremlin that comes out, and then you got Christopher Lee, who's playing, like, a scientist or whatever, and he's playing, like, the mad scientist.
I love that he played
that, yeah.
And that thing, the bat one almost turned into like a stone gargoyle.
And it's funny because when he leaves, he ends up leaving the fucking bat signal.
Yeah. I love this film. I feel like, unlike the first one, I felt like they did something that you don't see often, where it was actually having fun. Yeah, this movie was having a blast.
It was actually kind of a self-parody, very similar to Last Action Hero, where you actually took the idea, but you take a self-parody angle of like kind of the first movie and really develop more onto it, but adding more onto the story as well.
Yeah, then that spider one that creeped the fuck out.
Yeah, that was cool. I like the electric one too, where it was like in the fucking microwaves and shit.
It's frying everything.
And then you got the one where it's invading that kind of like horror host who's kind of hosting the kind of cook show, or whatever.
Yeah.
The Dracula dude.
Which is funny because
he was also a Last Action Hero, yeah.
And he reminded me of, also, his character reminds me a bit of like the dude from Fright Night.
What's his name? If I remember, from Fright Night.
Yeah, from Fright Night. The guy that helps Charlie Brewster.
Yeah. Yeah. And pretty much, like, everything that goes down in this movie is just fucking great. Like, you have...
Vincent, that's his name.
Yeah.
Vincent, yeah, and that. But yeah, he reminds me of that. But yeah, and you got this Asian guy, they want him going around carrying a camera while all the action's going on. Yeah. And you got all these fucking Gremlins doing stuff, and then it cuts out and starts doing commercials a lot.
Yeah, one of my favorites. Yeah, one of my favorites is there's actually two of them. My first one is the one with where after a while the Gremlin starts fucking with the movie and everything, and it actually cuts to fucking Hulk Hogan in the theater, and it says, and then the patron comes to him and he's like, they're messing with the theater or whatever. He's like, hey, you guys, you better do this now, right now. We pay popcorn and do this. You better change the fucking channel. You remember? And then they end up changing the movie back to what it was. And then they have another part where one of my other favorite scenes is the part where John Landis is, if you remember, Leonard Maltin, who's a famous film critic. He's doing a review of the first Gremlins movie, and he's giving a negative review of it. And the fucking Gremlins come up behind him, they start fucking attacking him.
Yeah, attacking him, his ass. I also like whenever they do like the little finger things and the projector thing, and they're like,
yeah, that's when the Hulk Hogan scene came in.
Yeah, that's right. They were fucking with this shit.
That's
right. I also like another one. They're watching Bugs Bunny and all that.
Yeah, well, that was at the beginning. That's the other thing. If you watch I believe if you watched the film when it first came out, they had a short they put in the very beginning of the film where it showed Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck introducing the movie, and it showed them
fighting a cartoon gremlin, I think, or there was a cartoon gremlin in that segment, wasn't there?
I think there was, yeah.
Yeah.
But I can't remember. But basically, you have just different types of gremlins that they really like do in this movie that I thought was like really fascinating.
Yeah, and not only that, I love the girl one where they're all like,
yep.
And you see her proudly throughout the film, and I love the ending where she's attracted to the
one
dickhead dude, and she's like, Mwah!
Yeah.
And they led to believe they had sex.
Yeah.
She raped his ass. But then they end up having a fight. You know, Gizmo's having to. And this one is where he does the Rambo thing.
Yeah, where he starts seeing clips from Rambo first part two.
Yeah.
And he starts seeing the clips like, you want to survive a war, you know, and all
he
that.
Puts on the little red bandana.
Yeah, the little red bandana.
And then they, the old people are stuck in the building now with them, and they're like, God, not again.
And then they end up having to, you know, fend off on the other gremlins. And then
they had to make up a plan with the building owner guy.
Yeah.
And then, basically their plan is to open up when it gets daytime, open up the lights.
And open all the sunlight.
Yeah.
And then also use the water to try to stretch them out, because they start, in the climax, they also use the water hoses to spray them out as well.
Yeah.
And expose them to the sunlight.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite parts of the entire film is the part where the smart gremlin, after he does his speech to the other gremlins about how he, you know, he's talking about taking over everything, he starts going into this, this song about how he loves New York and everything, that I love New York, and I love this fucking this thing.
It's like Frank Sinatra.
Yeah, Frank Sinatra.
New York.
Yeah. I love that fucking song.
And they all start singing and stuff. They get it to where all the gremlins meet in the lobby, and then they're able to get to the part where they can lift up the thing and kill them all.
Yeah. Which I thought was a great fucking climax. You know, they're all come together and they get exposed.
Oh, I love that fucking smart one, because he seemed like a cool ass dude.
I know. I was actually kind of bummed. I was like, oh, we
kind of cheered on him.
I know. I was kind of bummed that he got killed, but I mean, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, they end up getting killed by the sunlight and everything, and then the only one that really survives left is the fucking girl one that's left with that one dude
that rapes him at the end. Yeah, that has sex with him. But I like that part where that one gremlin, where all the soldiers are walking in, and that one makes that little move. Boop, and you hear that dude go boom.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I thought he was alive. And then, like, at the end, Billy comes up with some, like, cool idea, and, like, this guy promotes him and all that shit. Billy to this big project of building his next building for him, architecting his next building. Oh, we also left out that fucking mean redheaded bitch is trying to cheat.
Yeah, she's trying to hook up with Billy and all that and everything.
The spider one gets her.
Yeah, the spider one gets her. Yeah, and then
this one is fucking underappreciated.
Yeah, I love it. Like, I don't love it. Like, actually, I'm a rarity here. I actually love it. Okay, I'll tell you like this. On the entertainment level, as far as what they expand upon, I love it better than the first one. Now, as far as the first one, as far as the overall story, grounded, I still love the first one, but the second one, it has so much going for it that I'm a rarity. There's a lot of things I love more than the first one.
Yeah, it's almost like you want to put 2 over 1 in a rare occasion, which we probably will get slayed for, but it's our opinion, and to me, I think that not only people saying 2 suck, it doesn't suck. It's fucking great film. Yeah, I mean, literally, it takes almost, maybe there's 3 things I like the first Gremlins on, but I think almost everything else, I think 2 is almost superior.
Yeah.
Yeah, on a rare occasion. But there's still things I think the first Gremlins is better in.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like really hard to say which one's the better.
Yeah, but overall, like, I think they're, at least at this point, they're like on par with each other. So with that being said, like, I give this one also a phenomenal grade on the Film Phreeks meter.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Phenomenal grade in Film Phreeks meter.
Fair enough. For those of you who have also, and also, there have been rumors for a while that there's been talk supposedly of a Gremlins 3 coming out, which I'll be honest, if they were to do another Gremlins 3, I would prefer them doing that at least, because I'm not really too big of them doing fucking CGI and doing the puppeteers, because going back from the first film and the second film, the effects they use for both the movies, they're so great, and the characters are just so like fleshed out, and they have like everything going for them.
And not only that, I don't think either one of them act anymore. Zach and
yeah, she don't hardly anymore, and it's one of those things where it would be interesting if they did a sequel at least, but I could see to this day they would use fucking CGI for them fucking Gremlins.
So yeah, and that really it's pretty much fell through. So I don't think a third one's in the process. Unfortunately, I think there's rumors that they might go ahead with a remake.
Yeah, or reboot.
Reboot. Yeah.
So, but it's one of those things where certain films just shouldn't be made again. Yeah. But for those of you who have also seen the Gremlins films, Gremlins 1 and 2, let us know in the comments below what you thought about it. And if you like what you see here, you can feel free to like and subscribe to our channel. And check out some other reviews here and our website at filmphreeks.com. And we'll be seeing you in our next review.
Later.
We'll see you later.